Hi, my name is Chris LeSueur. I'm a product manager for AppStudio for ArcGIS. And with me also presenting today is Nakul Manocha and Tina Jin. I'll be mostly talking and introducing the product. Tina and Nakul are going to go through some demonstrations and of the product. So just to let everyone know that's here right now, this is AppStudio for ArcGIS, the basics. We're going to go cover pretty much a lot of the basics of what makes up AppStudio. We're not really going to get really into coding in this session. I just kind of show you where the code is available, but we're not going to go really into the coding. There's a session at 1 p.m. in the same room, which is AppStudio Advanced, and that will be a lot more coding and going deeper into the product. So just to let you know, stick around for, it's a good progression from this session to the next. Just a raise of hands. Who here, when someone says, when someone asks you what you do for a living, who here says, I'm a developer? That's like the first thing that they say. I'm a developer. Okay, wow, more than half, okay. That's a different, when I do this same session at the user conference, it's definitely a different, there's like a room that's filled this big, to capacity, and there's like, 10 people that raise their hand, but this is a developer conference, and I kind of expect that. Who here feels very proficient or uses Python a lot? Yeah, who here is like a JavaScript developer? All right, a lot. Any Avenue developers out there? Yeah, all right, I see a hand in the back. Right, all right, that was mine when I was most proficient at coding. If you even call that coding, I guess. I was using Avenue back in the day, and most of you in this room don't even know what that is. All right, so it's good. I think that any .NET developers as well? .NET, okay. Oh wow, a lot. Okay, cool, very good. This is, I think, is the right place for all of you. What is nice about AppStudio is it really does scale from kind of the developer, scripter person who's maybe writing some custom Python, maybe doing a little bit of JavaScript, to a .NET developer and beyond. To get into some of these a little more complex and advanced languages. It scales nicely with you for any of those people. Even those that can't develop or write code, they can still create some apps with AppStudio. So we'll talk about that here. So what is AppStudio for ArcGIS? It is I like to, in one sentence, a suite of productivity tools for creating native apps. For apps that run on iPhones, iPads, Android tablets and phones, even Windows, Mac, and Linux. So actually, don't run in a browser, that run as a native application. And why are native apps important? Well, there's a lot of reasons. These are just a few of some of the important reasons that people have talked to us about, why it's important that they need a native app. One is that they can run offline, that you can create an app that doesn't need a data connection all the time, that doesn't require a browser, that can run completely independent and offline. Another one is device capabilities. Now, device capabilities can be the sensors on the device, being able to access the GNSS receiver, the GPS receiver, maybe get high accuracy, tap into other Bluetooth capabilities, tap into even the speed of the processors on these modern devices, as well as things inherent into the operating system, like the contacts, the sharing capabilities from the operating system, being able to share with other applications on that. These are things that native apps do well and are built to do. And then the last one is, for many people that we talked to, is like maybe the most important thing, and that's the App Store. It's getting access to the App Stores, really particularly for the iOS and Android, getting into the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, because that's where people are going to find your apps, and that's where they expect to find them, and that's where they're going to search and download them for many of our customers. But when they're targeting those smartphone and tablet platforms. So those are a few of the reasons why to build native apps. But and just to show you this graph, probably hard to read in the back, but the bar graph kind of shows it best. Is the little sliver of gray at the bottom. This is on mobile devices, smartphones and tablets. That's the amount of time people spend in the browser on their devices, versus the blue is the time they spend on native apps, which I think a lot of us can kind of relate to. If on our smartphone, if we want to get email, we don't go to the browser and type in, Outlook.com or Gmail.com. We go to the native application on our phones. It gives us a better experience. It's smoother. It's faster. It's made to work on that device. And although I would say in the last data I saw for 2017, it's a little bit leveling out. It's not growing so much, but it's still dominant time that people spend on their mobile devices are spent in native apps. So what is the challenge? Challenge of native app development. It's complicated, it's expensive, it's time consuming. These are things that we hear and know about. It's going to go into a little bit of things to consider when building native apps. The cost, the time it takes you, the resources, times the number of platforms if you're targeting multiple platforms. Which if you're in the mobile world, you're at least, most likely you're targeting at least Android and iOS. Also things to consider, how are you going to distribute your apps? Is it just going to be in the app stores? Or are you going to distribute them through a enterprise, mobile deployment management system? How are you going to get that app out there? And can you create, apps that are secure in your data, that work with maybe your ArcGIS organization data and security model? And do you have a strategy for apps? Not just can you easily and quickly make multiple apps and have a suite of apps from your organization? And will you be able to maintain those over time and maintain them on maybe multiple platforms over time? These are all things to consider and challenges and things that AppStudio helps with a lot of this. I won't say it cures all of these issues or whatever, but we make it a lot easier, and these are things that we addressed with AppStudio. That one challenge that many people talk about is the multiple platforms. So being able to hit iOS and Android and maybe Windows, Mac, Linux as well, and being able to write an app that can run on multiple things, on multiple platforms. So who can deliver these kind of apps? Is it just a full-time developer, computer science trained person, or is it the JS department, the web developer, the desktop extension developer, Python developers? Well, I can tell you that it can be all those people, because we've had all of those individuals create some great apps with AppStudio. So it opens the number of people that can create apps and deploy them. And also, can you do that quickly, often, cost effective? And last little bullet point is have fun doing it. I don't know, we can't guarantee that one, but we hopefully, it's not an arduous process to building apps when you're using AppStudio. So I gave you the short definition of what is AppStudio. I'll just, a few more on a little more detail. So it's a platform for building, we like to use the word platform at ESRI. It's a platform for building cross-platform apps, targeted at both developers and non-developers. So you don't need any skills, development skills required to get started. I will say that most people that use AppStudio for sure do crack open and modify some of the code. Very few just configure. There's that extra little bit they want to customize, but we make it easy to do that. We have a gallery of application templates and samples and layouts to get you started, or you can totally just build your own app from scratch. And with these apps, you can deploy them into the app stores, or throughout an enterprise, or throughout an organization. So you're not limited to app store deployment. The cross-platform piece, it comes up, it's kind of I think what stands out probably most about AppStudio and as a unique solution. So it is truly write your app once, and you can create a build for these different environments, for these different platforms. And we do that because we utilize Qt technology. So if you're not familiar with Qt, it is a technology, actually it used to be part of Nokia back in the day, and it kind of spun off, and a lot of Qt development is actually done in like C++. It powers things like mobile entertainment systems inside of the back headrest of an airplane, and things in like navigation systems in cars, even down to like military embedded systems and vehicles and stuff. I mean, it's all over the place, and you kind of don't know about it. But in the last few years, Qt, this really kind of a C++ SDK has kind of expanded, and they've introduced QML, which will be talked about heavily in the next advanced section. But QML is a way to write your apps in Qt and have them build cross-platform, being able to use them on these different devices if you write them in QML. We have taken that, QML and Qt, and we've put this whole other suite of productivity tools to make it even better and easier to get up going quickly and being productive writing apps. That's a little history on that. So AppStudio itself, it provides a lot of value. It provides value in that we give you the runtime SDKs. So the full runtime, if you're not familiar with that, that's our core mapping capabilities that things like Collector and Explorer and Workforce are built on. Some of the ESRI apps or ArcGIS Earth is built on. This is our core mapping platform. We have all of that. So all those capabilities that you can do in those apps are available to you. We leverage portals and server and online. We give you these productivity tools, quick start templates. We have this concept we'll show later, this really cool concept of the player, which allows you to do some rapid testing on different devices or throughout an organization. And then CloudMake as well. CloudMake is kind of maybe the biggest time save for our users. And this is the ability to, with AppStudio, you just install it, you write your code, and if you want to request a build for these different platforms, you just upload your app project into your ArcGIS online account, and then request a build for different platforms, iOS or Android or Windows. And we have a number of servers out there that will take that project and create the build for you and then give you that binary executable, that exe file or that IPA file or APK file. So you don't have to set up your own build environment. You don't have to make sure that you have the right DLLs installed and you're in sync with the latest version of Runtime. Whatever. We handle that process. You just install one install of AppStudio Desktop, write your apps, and we take care of the rest. We provide a common set of widgets and UI elements, and really we try to bring the ease of web development and the power of native. And what do I mean by that is if you develop for the web, you know that you can write some code and then right away kind of view it in a browser, see what it's going to look like, get that immediate feedback, maybe let others see it as well very, very quickly. And AppStudio kind of gives you that same type of response. Write some code, run it, see what the app looks like on your desktop, make some modifications, and immediately see the update. So it has a lot of, it's a little more like web development, but you're building a native application. All right, I've been talking a lot, showing a lot of just a bunch of text. Let's talk let me go through briefly some apps that have been created with AppStudio to give you an idea of the things that people are building with AppStudio. I call this the wall of apps. A number of apps have been published by our users and by ESRI that have been available, that have been created with AppStudio. One is this app called TERT. It's in the Apple and Google's app stores. It's using our quick report template, so one of our out-of-the-box templates. It was created by a marine biologist at Loma Linda, someone that took a couple of GIS classes and got a little bit of the bug and wanted to learn more about GIS. And didn't have any development skills, but they wanted to create an app to do some citizen science, some sightings of sea turtles. So he created this very cool application and put it out into the app stores. We have a partner, National Arboretum. They are an ESRI partner, and they built an app. The partner is Blue Raster. They built an app for the National Arboretum, and basically they'd been doing some work, some GIS work. The National Arboretum had all this data, and they said, hey, they quickly kind of made a mock-up. Hey, this is what it would look like if we built an app for you. Would you like us to do it? And sure, and then they got the contract, and they went and they built this very cool app. So they quickly go from proof of concept to actual deliverable application. Another partner, VHB, built this really cool application for Massachusetts DOT, which takes the information that comes from the signs on the highway that say like 20 minutes to the airport, and they give you kind of information. Well, Massachusetts has like a whole network of those signs, And they wanted an app that would let people, if they were driving a certain commute, they could get that authoritative data coming from the DOT of what those signs are saying at that current time. So they built this very cool app. And they really they came to us because they had 6 weeks to get this app done. They hadn't really even, they just got this contract, and they had to get it for iOS and Android, and they knew that they thought AppStudio would be a fit, and it turned out to be the perfect solution for them. We have others like Long Beach Water, who's got an app out there, and this is an interesting one because it's in the app stores to anyone to download, but to actually use it, you have to have an ArcGIS. You have to be part of the ArcGIS organization for Long Beach Water. So it's a way of distributing through an enterprise, but using the app stores to get it to the user. And it's an app that you log in with your as part of the organization. You get information about all the construction projects, who's the manager on that project, what their phone number is, and where the project is, and things. And then we have customers like customers like GPS It, who built this really cool application for Fonterra. It's a large dairy farming company in New Zealand. And this is fully custom, where they zoom into a farm, they clip out the area, take it offline, and they do things, they do buffers and other things along the streams that go through the farms. And it's very cool. This was previously one, they had this application just on Windows. And the customer said, hey, we love that on Windows, but we want the same thing and a little more, but we want it also on iPad. We want Windows and iPad. Can you do that? So they built this application that will run on both a Windows tablet and iPad and Android tablet as well. At ESRI, we use AppStudio to build some apps. Right now, we've got one in beta called MyArcGIS. That's actually the kind of the beta name. It'll probably change. This is kind of an administration management app for your ArcGIS organization, where you can see who's in your group, add people to your group, see how many credits are being used, what are the most popular maps in your organization. It's not for creating maps or viewing maps, so you can launch other applications to view the maps from it, but for getting your account information, the status of your organization, and doing some administration tasks. So if you're interested in this, we're kind of in development in beta. Come by the ESRI AppStudio booth, and we'll give you more information about how you can join the beta. But this was all built with AppStudio. And that app actually is interesting. It doesn't use the runtime. It doesn't use those mapping components from ESRI, because you can build apps that don't use the runtime. This is an example of that. It just is using, it's connecting to a portal. It's getting information, but it's just using AppStudio. We have a group at ESRI, called ESRI Labs. They make all sorts of cool, somewhat experimental, kind of these unsupported experimental things you can try out. We have things like OGO, which is an augmented reality, kind of a proof of concept app that's out there and available for you to try, and a few others. So we use this for some of the experiments, because one, it's really quick to use to build stuff at ESRI. We can get going, build things, and test them, and it's also, we can hit multiple platforms by building it once. And then probably our biggest success story with AppStudio would be Survey123, which is, I'm sure many of you use. It's growing in popularity. Of lots of users. This app for form-based data collection, and Survey123 is built with AppStudio. So because of that, when we release a new version of Survey123, it's out on iOS and Android, and even Windows and Mac all at the same time. We release at the same time with new updates. They have new updates about every 6 to 7 weeks, so it's a very rapid turnaround with little bits of new functionality added with each. And we give you with AppStudio Desktop the code to customize Survey123. So you can customize. Many people just want to brand it. They just want to put their own skin on it. I want our logo and color scheme. Recently, Red Cross did this. There's the Red Cross has a RC Collect version of Survey123 out there. So we give you the code to make it available. All right, before we see some demos and get a tour of some of the parts of AppStudio from Nicole and Tina, we do have to talk a little bit about licensing to help you understand the different levels and things involved with AppStudio. One is AppStudio Basic and Standard. There's 2 versions of AppStudio, two licensing levels, Basic and Standard. Basic actually comes with anyone who is a level 2 ArcGIS user. So if you can log into ArcGIS Online and create any content, a map, data, whatever, then that means you're a level 2 user. You can create content. And if you are, you then have access to AppStudio Basic. It's a web-only experience, but it doesn't require any development skills. You basically configure some of our templates with your data, your maps, and wire it up, and we can generate those builds for different platforms for you, for Android, iOS, Windows, and such. And these apps that you build, you can actually publish those into the different app stores. So without downloading anything else, you just need to be a level 2 user. You can actually create an app that's publishable to those app stores. If anyone's tried this, I will mention at this point that to do the app, to actually create an iOS build for a native build for iOS, it does require an Apple certificate and an Apple developer subscription. So you do have to sign up to do that with Apple. So just some people say, hey, I can't, it's all grayed out. I can't actually generate that build. Well, you do have to go. We have some documentation on that. You do have to actually sign up with Apple to be a developer first before you can do that. You can run it on your app, on your phone, on your Apple device and test it with AppStudio Player. We'll go into that a little later. So that's AppStudio Basic. So then we have AppStudio Standard. And what that is, it's everything that the web has, plus it's a desktop development environment. So we have desktop-friendly tools for building apps, where you can extend those templates, you can customize the templates with code, whatever. You can start from scratch with new layouts, examples, or completely from scratch. That's where you can get in and mess with the code. And we have a lot of other properties that we expose as well with AppStudio Standard and Desktop. It is, and then as far as sharing your applications with AppStudio Basic, the apps that you create actually need to point to publicly available services. If you create with the Basic Edition and you create an app that you want to give to other people, the services that it's pointing to have to be publicly available. With Standard, that's not the case. You can point to your own private services in your organization, requiring people to log in and things like that. So I mentioned that you can create apps with AppStudio that don't use the runtime. But most people do want some mapping components. They do want to include, we're all, this is GIS development conference. So because of that, we include the runtime, or you can use the runtime in your app, and the runtime has its own licensing as well. So anything you build will also fall underneath runtime's licensing, which is light, basic, standard, and advanced. We're going to give these slides out. There's a link there for more information on that. A lot of simple mapping, drawing, doing things is covered under light, and there's no extra deployment or login requirement for that. When you get into basic, you do need to either have someone log in with their account or with an ArcGIS account, or have a deployment license, and that's when you get into more advanced things like editing feature services and such. There are a few other cases where you might need another license. Like I mentioned, we embed Qt. There's cases if you're customizing C++ extensions, or you're going to actually sell your application itself as a standalone application, that you do require other licensing considerations. We have this on our documentation. We have this kind of diagram workflow, yes/no question, that if I'm delivering just to the public, what do I need? If I'm doing this, what do I need? And so you can talk to us after, or you can go through look through this diagram to figure what other licenses you might need. But most of our users that I would say that are using AppStudio Standard is what they need, and they don't have to go beyond that with any further licensing. All right, just briefly talk about AppStudio, a little more AppStudio Desktop. So this is an application. One is that you can build an app. There you go. You can build an app using a template. Really as simple as picking a template, creating that app, configuring the different parts of it. Upload that to your org, test it with other people. You can submit a build. We're going to go through all of these different kind of functions here and the demos. Desktop gives you, a way to organize your applications, so a way to not only create, but to keep them organized, share them with other people. We have access to all those templates and samples within one location. And I say we expose more properties in the desktop. A lot of the things that you might have to write in code in other places, maybe like, is this app going to be just for smartphones or smartphones and tablets? Is this app going to require permissions to access the location or the audio of my my device? Those are all just simple toggles in the properties where you don't have to actually write any extra code to declare those things. We do give you a full IDE to edit the code called Qt Creator, which is bundled with the install. And of course, we allow you to request a build with our Cloud Make. The one cool thing with AppStudio is that it's not, you don't have to go and, okay, do I need to get Qt components from here and get AppStudio Desktop from here and then go get the runtime from here and make sure it's all synced up in the right level. Nope, when we have a release, it's one install. And that install includes the runtime, the AppStudio components, AppStudio Desktop, as well as all that Qt components and the Qt Creator IDE. So it's just one install to get going. All right, I think that's enough of me talking. Now, we're now going to see a demo. Nicole's going to take us through a tour of AppStudio Desktop and show us the different components of this tool.
Thanks, Chris. So as Chris mentioned, AppStudio provides great set of tools to create cross-platform native apps. So why don't we go ahead and create one today? So in order to create an app within AppStudio, you need to install the AppStudio Desktop. So what we are looking at here is an AppStudio Desktop. There is a button on the top says New App. So that's the first place we need to go. As you can see, there are multiple options available here to create an app. You can start from scratch using the starter templates. You can start from layouts. We have some very good layouts for the material design, which looks which works best for the phones, such as Android or iOS. We have some samples available. So if you are looking to write some runtime apps, we have a lot of samples. We have categorized them in different categories, so it's easier for you to find. You can always do a search also on the samples. And also we have the enterprise template. So if somebody is interested in customizing something like Survey 123, they can come here and start with the Survey 123 template. Today what we're going to do is we're going to start with our templates. So the 3 templates which Chris talked about. We're going to do the map viewer template. The map viewer templates provides the capability to view both online and offline maps. So today I'm interested in showing you how to use map viewer to show some San Francisco, both online and offline maps. So let me name it like My San Francisco Maps as the app name. Hit the create button. So now it's downloading the app from the template, and it's created for me. Since this template is both configurable and customizable, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open the app settings. So in the app settings, you have a lot of options here. You can change the summary. You can add some description. You can add some tags if you want better search. And then you can add some credits also. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the properties like the start screen. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the background image. I have a great background image sitting on my desktop, which for San Francisco. So I'm going to use that. Hit yes. So it's copying the image from the location to my app folder. I also want to change a brand color. I have one handy here, so I'm gonna just copy it. Enter. I'll also change the font size from 14 to 16. And I'll leave other properties untouched. Now moving on to the gallery page. So since we are interested in San Francisco maps, what we need to do is we need to provide the query string here. I have two options here. I can provide something like San Francisco here, and what it will do, it will load all the public San Francisco web maps or offline maps, either available publicly or available within my org. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a predefined item IDs which are accessible to me from my org. So as you can see, I added two of them, one an online and one is the offline one. In order to view the offline one, you must enable the sign-in capability. To enable the sign-in capability in Map Viewer, you need to enable the support secured maps property. So it does two things. One, it gives you the capability to download and view offline map, and the second is if there are any secured maps, web maps available in your org, you can view those. I'm going to hit apply here and close the settings. And now I'm going to run the app. So this is the app we just built. So if I sign in, I'll be able to see both online and offline. For now, I'm going to just skip it. It's a disclaimer page. Hit OK. So I added two of them. Now I can see one, which is the web map. The other one we will see once we sign in. So let's go through the online web map. So this web map is about housing affordability in San Francisco area. You can learn more about this web map here. You can view the legend. You can also see the table of contents. You can turn on or off some layers if you want. You can also click on the feature to get its attributes. If you have any features, attachments or media available, you can view them. For instance, in this case, there's a pie chart available. I can view its value here. I can also, if I like, I can change the base map using the base map gallery. If I want to switch between map units, I can turn on the switch map units dialog and I can switch between them. We also added a capability to view the graticules. So if you are interested in something like UTM or USNG, you can add them on the map. If you want to do a search, on this web map, there is only place search available, but if your web map is configured to do a feature search, that would be available too. So for instance, if I need to search something like Main Street, San Francisco, I can choose that like the first one. It gives me different results. I can see one of them. So this is what we can do with a web map. So let's see how we can get to the offline map, or which is also called as a mobile map package. So in order to view, as I mentioned, you need to sign in. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the sign in. I was expecting to see a sign-in dialog or a page, but I'm getting an error here. The reason why I'm getting this error is because I haven't provided a registered client ID. Well, that's pretty easy to do it in AppStudio. If you have created an app, you must upload the app one time, at least one time, to register your client ID. So I'm going to go ahead and upload it now. I'll share it also. So we added a sharing option here. It makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to upload it. While it is getting uploaded, I just wanted to tell you, the people who are developer here, that if they want to further customize this template, they can access the code using the edit button. So it will open the code in the Qt Creator, and if you feel like making some changes or customizing it further, you can change the code using the QML and JavaScript. You're going to learn more about the QML and JavaScript in our advanced session. So I'm not going to talk about that today. I'll just close this thing. Okay, now my upload has been successful, as you can see. So I'll go here and open the app again and hit sign in this time. Oh, I forgot to do the register. So what we were doing is to register the client ID. So that is available under the advanced section. It's very easy, just have to hit the button register. And if you do not want your maps to show the watermark which says runtime running in a developer license mode, you can remove that by adding a light license. So again, that's just a click of a button. Hit close, apply, and now I have provided a client ID, so I should be able to sign in. So I get this OAuth page, so I'll go ahead and input my credentials. Now, since after I sign in, you can see there are two tabs available, one for web map and one for offline map. So the offline map, I have it here, is a mobile map package which I can download. So I'll go ahead and download this. So once the download is finished, this map will be available with you all the time. You don't have to sign in again to view this thing. This is, which means that it will work even when you don't have any network. So it says download completed, offline ready to use. I'll go ahead and open this thing. It works the same way as you would expect as the case in the web map. And this mobile map package has a bunch of maps in it, so I can switch between them. I can do a search. So in this mobile map package, I have enabled a feature search using a locator, which is based on a field which uses an integer values. So I'll just put a value like 10, and I get these features back. I can click them to see which features are them. Similarly, I can click on the features itself to get their attributes. If I want to know the info, you can get them here. And if you are interested in the bookmarks, and if you have configured those with your mobile map package, you can view them. So what we saw is how MapViewer works and how you build an app using the template. So now my app is ready. I want to do a build so that I can create those executables. We need to build the executables for the different platforms. But since I just made some changes to the app, I added the runtime license and I added the client ID, I need to upload it. So you would want to upload your app as frequently as you would like so that you can always access the latest code. Because if I run the make tool now, it's going to use the last version. So now I have updated my app. I'm going to run the make tool. As Chris mentioned, make tool is a great tool to create those executables, and we provide you two options, the cloud make and the local make. For local make, you need to set up your dev environment. But for cloud make, the easiest thing is that you can build cloud make apps for all the platforms from any platform. Basically, which means that if you are using a Windows, you can still build an app for iOS. So in this case, I'm going to select one from Android, one from Apple, which is an iOS, and one from Windows. A 64-bit. I'm going to hit Analyze, Build. For now, I'm going to just ignore these warning messages and hit the request build. Once the app is ready, once the builds are done, I will get an email saying that my builds are ready to be downloaded. And in order to download them, we provide an OTA website for AppStudio, and you can download these executables. So now Tina is going to show how you use Player to test your app and how to install your app from the Cloud Make. Thank you.
Number 5.
That's the phone.
Okay. So now let's see what the app that Naku built looks like on a real device. So here is my iPhone 7, which have AppStudio Player installed in it. AppStudio Player is like a testing tool. It gives you instant feedback of what your app will look like on a real device so that you can test your app easily and quickly. So I just opened my player. You can search the app that Naku just built before, but today I will scan the QR code to download and install the app to my player. Just to save some time, I will skip sign in and open the web maps to do a quick testing. This app looks nice on my iPhone 7 device, but what if you are told to test the apps on an old Nexus 5 device, but I don't have it with me today? In that case, we will use virtual device tool. AppStudio Desktop provide, can you project number 4 for me? AppStudio Desktop provides a virtual device tool, allows you to run your app on iOS simulators and Android emulators. All right, let me.
No. It's this right. Yeah, do that.
Sorry, let me project my. Okay, number 5. Let's go back to the AppStudio Desktop. Here we go. So here is a virtual device tool. Once you have Android Visual Studio installed, you can configure your virtual emulators in here. since I have already configured, it will be available for you on AppStudio Desktop right away. I will launch my Nexus 5 emulator. And open the player. Now I will copy the San Francisco app to my emulator. Pull to refresh. I can see my app in here. I will open it. Let's sign in. I can see the web maps and offline maps as well. Let me download my offline maps in the emulators. And do a quick testing in here. Everything looks good on my emulator as well. So I have introduced 2 ways to testing your apps. The first one is using AppStudio Player to test your app on a real device. And the second one is using the virtual device tool to run your app on a virtual device. So I would always recommend you to use Player as your primary testing tool. When you don't have a specific device, in that situation, we will use the virtual device tool. Now I think everything is good to go. Let me actually download my app to my iPhone device. Okay. All right. So Naku have mentioned that we provide an over-the-air installation so that you can download and install your app directly to your device. I will do a quick refresh. Looks like the build is ready for me. I will click on the install button to install my apps to my device. You can also click on the share button to share your apps to your friends or clients through an email. It will generate an app download link for you. All right, let's run the app in my device. Skip it. This is exactly the same app that Naku created on his desktop. So let me do a quick recap right now. Naku has created and configured a MapViewer template app. I have tested using AppStudio Player as well as in the virtual device tool for Nexus 5. And then I'm going to the over-the-air installation to install my app to my device. And this whole process just takes us less than 15 minutes. And that is the power of AppStudio. Now I will pass my mic back to Chris.
Thank you, Tina. Let's see, queen number 1. All right. You might have noticed one thing there is that Nicole was working in AppStudio Desktop, and it was a white application, and the tools were on the right side. Tina opened it up, and it was black, and the tools were on the left side. So we have this complete, dark and light theming, ability to switch tools around. If you haven't, maybe if you used AppStudio a little over a year ago, it looked a lot different. So we've upgraded the whole UI, made it more usable, made it a little more modern, and things. So AppStudio has really progressed quite a lot in the last year. We've added a lot of capabilities to this application. Before we take questions, and I wanted to just talk real briefly about what's next for AppStudio. So currently we are in beta for AppStudio 3.0. And in fact, it's coming out in the April timeline. So we're not too far away from AppStudio 3.0 3.0 coming out. What's unique about AppStudio 3.0? Well, for the last almost a year, we've supported, we had a big update to the runtime. Our ArcGIS runtime the ArcGIS runtime itself moved to the 100 series, it was codenamed Quartz at the time. We've been supporting both the older runtime and the new 100 series runtime for the last year. We're in this 3.0, we are dropping support for the older runtime and just going to be supporting the new stuff. Because of that, we will actually have to support 2 versions of AppStudio Player in the app stores. So you'll see an AppStudio Player and an AppStudio Player Classic kind of, which supports both the runtimes and supports the older runtime. We've done a lot of work with high accuracy GNSS receivers and being able to read that information, a NEMA stream from a Bluetooth connected GNSS receiver, so something like a EOS or a Bad Elf or a Trimble or something, being able to read those streams into AppStudio. So we've done a lot of work there, and we've got a new sample and some great examples and showing you how to connect to that device and bring that data in. So very cool. The GNSS info samples kind of shows you everything you need to do to connect to those. We've done more work on biometric authentication, which sounds very fancy and scientific. It's for the most part, it's fingerprint readers. We previously were working on iOS and Windows. We now support Android as well, and we even support things like if you have a new iPhone X with the face unlock or whatever it's called, Face ID. We support that as well. So you don't have to write code to support these different platforms and stuff like, Face ID and fingerprint readers. You write it once, you implement this plugin, basically, and it just works across all those different platforms when you do the build. We increased our support for these mobile map packages, these offline map packages, which are very cool. And 2.1 will support, it's in the newer runtime, and AppStudio 3 will support having rasters inside of those mobile map packages. There's obviously a longer list of bugs and fixes, and we've done things also to improve our standard templates. So if you've looked at AppStudio maybe a while ago, please take another look at it, where the team has been doing a lot of great work and making this a better product. I just want to put a plug in again for the developing cross-platform apps with AppStudio Advanced session, where they're really going to kind of take off from where we left here, where we introduced the tools and the desktop and the concepts. They're going to actually build some apps, show how to make nice-looking apps, really kind of delve into this material design aspect of building apps, making them look nice, putting a map inside your app, doing some stuff with the concept of putting plugins so you can access things like text-to-speech and things. So that's in the same room, 1 to 2 today. One thing I do have to remember is please fill out the little survey for today. If you have the ESRI Events app, find this session, fill out the survey. I think it'll take you like 5 seconds. You just go to the right and you just push number 5 for all the different categories, and you're done. Hit submit. So with that, let's open it up and take some questions. So anyone have any questions? Yes. Can we do offline editing through a feature service? Yes, we don't have that like out of the box in some of these templates or anything, but we do have some samples for doing editing of a feature service. I mean, you think about it, in Server 123 works offline, and it edits, basically pushes edits to a feature service. So that's a good example of one app. It doesn't display, it doesn't do lines and polygons, but it is offline working and pushing edits. But yeah, we've got some data. Sure.
Maybe just requested, what does you put it in Studio and
AppStudio and what?
Visual Studio.
And Visual Studio? Visual Studio is a Microsoft product for building, with a lot of powerful tools for building native applications. There is Xamarin, which allows you to do some cross-platform development. You still, I think if anyone's ever used like Xamarin, which is very cool, and if you're a .NET developer, it might be the right choice for you. I'm not going to say it's not, but there's still, it's not quite the same as like write it once, just create a build and it just happens to work and everything. There's still a lot of UI tweaks and making it specific for different platforms. A lot of your core logic will be the same, but your interface often I know takes a little more work to do. It's going to be a preference. If you are a .NET developer, there's a good chance, yeah, Visual Studio, and if you want to do cross-platform, maybe Xamarin is the right thing. We support it here at ESRI. If you're coming from Python, JavaScript world, and that's kind of like where you're more comfortable and things, you will definitely be more productive and pick up writing in QML and creating AppStudio apps quicker. It'll be an easier move for you. Yeah. Yep. So the web, so those are tied things. Basic basically gives you access to the web interface for creating apps. And that is, you can choose from 3 templates: Quick Report, Map Viewer, and Map Tour. You can configure those with some text, your titles and description, your splash images, background image, icon, and connect them, point them basically to your map services. Run, boom, you have an app you can deploy. Those, you can't, that's really all you can do. You can deliver those apps you built with Basic to the public. They have to be public-facing services available to the public. With Standard, you get all the other stuff. You get the desktop environment. You can deploy into an enterprise. You can tweak a lot more properties on those templates. You can write new apps. You get samples and everything. So honestly, I will be honest, we don't have a lot of people that are building apps and pushing them out just with Basic. Basics kind of gives you the idea, the concepts. Yes, you can build an app, but most people, they always want to go a little further and really customize it to make it look like their own or add that extra little bit. So a good point, I didn't really talk much about how do you get Standard or what is that. It used to be sold alone. It was a per developer cost to buy a license to use AppStudio Desktop and Standard. It's now included as part of our developer subscription. So if you have an ESRI developer subscription, builder level or above, like there's like an essentials, like a free version, it's not included in that, but any of the paid versions, builder level and above, we include AppStudio Standard. It's included with that. So if you're not sure, do I have it? If you had an EDN license previously, those have been around for a long time, those of them last year have all gotten transitioned over to ESRI Developer Network subscriptions. So there's a good chance that, and I'm sure there's people in this room that had AppStudio Standard license available to them. They didn't really even know it. So it's just a matter of going in, logging into your developer subscription license, creating a test org, and seeing that there's a license there available for you. And we have some documentation, or talk to myself or Tina about that if you want to see that. Yes? Mm-hmm. You can give it your own name. Yeah, you can give it totally your own name. You can brand it. Now, the services it will be hitting in the background are still going to be either ArcGIS Enterprise or ArcGIS Online. And the creating of the surveys will still be using the Survey 123 tools. But the end application that you hand someone and they fill it out can have whatever name you want, have whatever graphics you want. That's all up to you to customize.
Close beta. Yeah.
They do, yes. So it is, yeah, it does require that you still have a named user account to log in and make those edits, yeah.
Keep forgetting where I have to.
Okay. Collector? Nope, it cannot. Collector is an out-of-the-box application from us, and the same as Workforce and Explore. And those are, they're built with some of the same core runtime components, but they're built with the native development, iOS, Android development tools for those different platforms. And we do not provide the code for those. No, those are out-of-the-box applications. Yeah. Any other questions? All right. Well, great. Thank you. And please, yeah, if you're interested in learning more, go to that 1 o'clock session. We'll be here for a few minutes as well to take questions. Thank you.